We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
1, 0, all engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Hello, and welcome back to Orbit at a Tilt. Jake says hello also. Man, to say that this has been a day for technical difficulties is an understatement. This is, I don't know, the third, fourth, fifth time I have tried to go live this morning. And now my dog is barking. So, great. We'll just carry on. I hope you're having a better day than I am. Unfortunately, I'm not the only one experiencing some technical difficulties. The Soyuz MS-10 spacecraft was supposed to deliver 2 crewmates to the International Space Station this morning, but one of the boosters had a problem and the launch was aborted. Fortunately, the 2 men that were in the spacecraft, they are fine, but the Soyuz did have to make a ballistic landing. A few days ago, I talked about what it's like to land in the Soyuz. You might want to go take a look at that video. Unfortunately, these 2 guys did not have the benefit of the features of Soyuz that are designed to make the landing a little more comfortable. But let's take a look at the launch, and I'll tell you what I know. This is the Soyuz on top of the rocket at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. I'm just going to play this and let you listen in on the conversation between the astronauts and the ground control. They are using an interpreter, so the woman's voice that you hear is the interpreter for the Russian cosmonaut that is communicating with ground control. So here we go. Take a listen.
From the booster. "30 seconds now until launch. Ground umbilical to the 3rd stage has been disconnected, and in just a moment the 2nd umbilical tower will separate.
Power on board.
There's the 2nd tower.
Command for ignition, oxygen.
Launch command has been issued. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Engine turbo pump at flight speed. Engines at maximum thrust. Lift off.
And there is liftoff of the Soyuz MS-10 to the International Space Station, carrying Nick Hague and Alexei Ovchinin to the orbital complex. This again is Nick Hague's first time to launch to space, and Alexei Ovchinin's 2nd.
1, copy. Everything is good on board, and we are sitting well. Copy. Burlock 1.
Hearing good first stage performance for the Soyuz, delivering 930,000 pounds of thrust from its 4 boosters and single engine. Again, the first stage of the Soyuz measures 68 feet in length and 24 feet in diameter. It's burning liquid fuel for the first 2 minutes and 6 seconds of flight.
Everything up to this point is normal.
60 seconds into the flight. The pressure in the chamber is nominal. Burlock 1, copy. Everything is well on board. They're tuning well. Thank you. Copy.
Everything proceeding as intended for today's flight. Now just a little over a minute into it. The velocity of the Soyuz is about 1,100 miles per hour.
I'm going to stop this for just a second and point out a couple of things. First, they're traveling at 1,100 miles an hour. That's crazy. I'm going to back this up because when I saw this at first, I thought, uh-oh, that's the problem. But actually, I looked back at some other launches and that's typical. So let's keep going.
Copy. Everything is well on board. They're feeling well. Thank you. Copy.
Everything proceeding as intended for today's flight. Now just a little over a minute into it. The velocity of the Soyuz is about 1,100 miles per hour. View here of the crew inside the Soyuz now making their way to the International Space Station. Nick Hague there at the top of the screen and Alexei Ovchinin at the bottom.
This is Burlak 1. Copy. Everything is well on board. The crew is feeling well. Copy.
Still, everything is fine.
View here of the Soyuz making its way into space. Everything looking good. Proceeding nominally.
Inaudible.
And we have the escape tower for the Soyuz now jettisoned.
Okay, that looked kind of crazy right there, but that actually is normal too. The escape tower has jettisoned. The escape tower is designed to throw the part of the spacecraft that carries the astronauts clear of the launch area in case something goes wrong. Well, this problem happened after the escape tower was jettisoned, so that didn't help them out at all. Now this, of course, is an animation.
Continuing nominally. The 4 strap-on boosters have been jettisoned and they've completed their job, dropped away at an altitude of 28 statute miles. Soyuz traveling about 3,350 miles an hour.
This obviously that was an animation showing what is expected, but here we start to get indications that something's wrong.
Is it emergency booster 2 minutes 45 seconds? The emergency, the failure of the booster. Failure of the booster. BS, yes, BS. Separation. Enable power.
Okay, so they have detected that there was a problem, and the crew in the capsule are communicating with ground control to talk about what happened, what information do they each have on each end. The crew is okay. They determined that right away. They also have power in the spacecraft, so that's good.
190 seconds into the flight, Soyuz traveling about 4,700 miles per hour.
Don't be in a hurry. Burlaki, copy. We are in weightlessness, according to our sensations.
So the crew, they are high enough above the Earth now that they are in free fall. They are experiencing weightlessness. The problem here is that the booster, because the booster malfunctioned, they don't have enough velocity to get into the orbit they need to get into in order to rendezvous with the space station. So, there's really not much more to see other than the concerned people in the in mission control in Roscosmos. But what we do know is that the capsule was able to successfully land in a ballistic re-entry, so it plummeted to the Earth with really not much to slow it down. The rescue teams were sent out to the landing side, or the crash site, if you want to call it that. The 2 crew members are safe and they are okay. They have been taken back to Baikonur Cosmodrome, and I think they've been flown to somewhere else in Russia to get any medical attention that they need. And then we'll see, what happens next. But this brings up some interesting questions. What is going to happen now? Because all Soyuz flights are grounded until they can figure out what went wrong. And right now, Soyuz is our only way to get people to and from the space station. So the people that are up there are not stuck. They have a lifeboat they can use to come back. But as far as sending people up there, now we don't have any way to do that. This is also not the first problem that we've seen with the Soyuz spacecraft recently. You may have heard it may have been a month or more ago, there was a hole in the space station. And they were scrambling to try to figure out where they were losing the pressure. And it turns out it was in the Soyuz spacecraft that was docked to the station. And from the investigations, it appears that that hole was there before it got to the station. So that's concerning. These spacecraft have been in service for a long time, and they've been the workhorse for the transportation to and from the station. So I believe this is going to put some extra pressure on NASA, as well as the private space companies that they are working with, such as SpaceX, to develop our own crew module so we can launch and deliver astronauts to and from the space station from U.S. soil using U.S. components. This isn't a dig against the Russians, though. I mean, let's hand it to them. The Russians have consistently proven their technological expertise in terms of space exploration, and the good news is that everyone is safe. No one was hurt. So, as I learn more, I will share that with you. If you have questions, I don't know if I'll have the answers, but let me know in the comments. And in the meantime, I guess look up at the sky and think about all the wondrous things that are there to explore. And remember that it is dangerous, but it's still worth it.